There's a stillness some people carry that feels almost impossible to name. You've noticed it, perhaps in someone you know, perhaps in a version of yourself you're trying to understand. It's not the absence of feeling, not the flatness of indifference, but something quieter, a kind of steady presence that remains unshaken even when the world around them tilts and fractures. They don't flinch at raised voices. They don't spiral when plans collapse. They move through chaos with a softness that looks effortless, and you wonder, how do they do that? What lives inside them that allows such calm to exist? This isn't about emotional coldness. It's not about suppression or detachment. The people who are always calm aren't numb. They're deeply, quietly attuned. And tonight, we're going to explore what that means, what creates it, what sustains it, and what it costs. Now, dim those lights, get cozy, settle into your pillow, and let yourself relax. Take a breath. Because understanding calmness isn't just about observing others. It's about recognizing something in yourself, the parts that long for peace, the parts that resist it, the parts that wonder if stillness is even possible. And as we move through this together, let yourself soften. Let your thoughts slow. Let this be a place where understanding and rest can coexist. There's a biological foundation to calmness that most people never see. It lives in the autonomic nervous system, that ancient network running beneath conscious thought, governing heartbeat and breath, and the body's response to threat. People who remain calm aren't suppressing their stress response. They've cultivated a different relationship with it. Their vagus nerve, that wandering pathway connecting brain to body, has learned to signal safety even when circumstances suggest otherwise. This isn't about being fearless. It's about the body learning over time that not every loud sound requires fight or flight, that presence can exist alongside uncertainty, that stillness can be a choice rather than a luxury. The vagus nerve is remarkable in its simplicity and its power. It travels from your brainstem down through your chest and abdomen, touching your heart, your lungs, your digestive system. And it carries messages in both directions, from brain to body, telling your organs how to respond, and from body to brain, informing your mind about what's happening in your physical world. When this nerve is functioning well, when it's what researchers call high in vagal tone, it acts like a brake on your stress response. It tells your heart to slow down. It tells your breath to deepen. It tells your entire system that whatever is happening right now, you can handle it without panic. People who seem perpetually calm often have strong vagal tone, though they might not know it. Their bodies have learned, through experience or practice or sometimes just natural wiring, to activate this calming pathway quickly and easily. When something stressful occurs, their nervous system doesn't immediately flood with cortisol and adrenaline. Instead, there's a pause, a moment where the vagus nerve sends its soothing signal, where the body remembers that it knows how to stay regulated even in difficulty. This doesn't mean they don't feel stress. It means their system has a built-in capacity to return to baseline more quickly, to find equilibrium again and again. And here's what matters for you right now. Vagal tone can be strengthened. It's not fixed. It's not something you either have or don't have. It's something that responds to practice, to intention, to gentle repetition over time. Notice your breath right now. Just notice it. Don't try to change it. Don't try to deepen it. Just feel where the air enters your body and where it leaves. Feel the slight coolness as you breathe in through your nose, the warmth as you breathe out. Notice how your chest rises, how your belly might expand slightly, how your shoulders might lift just a fraction. This simple act of noticing, of bringing your awareness to breath, is actually stimulating your vagus nerve. You're sending a signal to your body that says, we're paying attention, we're present, we're safe enough to notice. This is how calm people live, often without realizing it. They return to breath, they return to body, they return to the present moment again and again, and in that returning they strengthen the very pathways that make calmness accessible. You're doing that right now. Just by breathing, just by noticing, you're building the architecture of peace inside yourself. And this matters because your nervous system is always listening to what you tell it. When you breathe slowly, when you soften your shoulders, when you let your jaw unclench, you're speaking a language your body understands. You're saying, it's okay to rest now. It's okay to let down your guard. It's okay to be calm. You don't need to master this tonight. You don't need to suddenly develop perfect vagal tone or achieve some state of permanent calm. You just need to know that your body has this capacity, that it's already inside you, waiting to be accessed. And every time you return to breath, every time you notice tension and let it soften, you're strengthening that pathway. You're teaching your nervous system that calm is possible, that it's available, that it's yours to claim whenever you need it. Let yourself sink a little deeper now into the surface beneath you. Let your body feel heavy. Let gravity do its work, pulling you down, holding you, supporting you without any effort on your part. You don't need to hold yourself together right now. You can simply be held. And as you rest here, something else emerges, another layer of understanding about where calmness truly begins. Calmness often begins long before conscious memory, in those early months and years when the brain is forming its most fundamental understandings about safety and threat. In infancy, when a caregiver responds consistently to distress, the developing brain learns a lesson that shapes everything that follows. The world can be trusted to regulate you when you cannot regulate yourself. This early attunement creates neural pathways that make calmness feel accessible rather than foreign, natural rather than forced. When a baby cries and someone comes, when hunger is met with feeding, when fear is met with comfort, the infant's nervous system begins to internalize a pattern. It learns that distress is temporary, that help is available, that the unbearable feeling will pass. And this learning happens not in the thinking brain, not in language or conscious memory, but deep in the limbic system, in the emotional centers that will govern stress response for the rest of life. This is what attachment researchers call secure attachment, and it's one of the most powerful predictors of emotional regulation in adulthood. People who experience this kind of early consistency often grow into adults who can self-soothe, who can feel intense emotion without being overwhelmed by it, who can return to calm more easily because their earliest experiences taught them that calm is reachable, that distress doesn't last forever, that they are worthy of comfort. But for those who grew up in unpredictable environments, where safety was conditional or absent, where caregivers were sometimes available and sometimes not, the nervous system learned something different. It learned hypervigilance. It learned that you cannot trust the world to regulate you, so you must stay constantly alert, constantly scanning for danger, constantly braced for the next disruption. This creates a baseline of tension that feels normal, that feels like just how life is, but that makes calmness feel foreign and almost dangerous. If this is your history, if you recognize yourself in that description, please hear this. These patterns are not permanent. Your early blueprint matters, yes. It shaped your nervous system in profound ways, but the brain remains capable of learning new responses, of building new pathways toward calm, even decades later. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself, doesn't stop at childhood. It continues throughout life, responding to new experiences, new relationships, new practices that teach your system different truths. Notice your hands right now. Are they clenched? Are they holding tension? Let your fingers open if they're curled. Let your palms soften. Let your wrists release any tightness. Feel the weight of your arms, how they rest against the surface beneath you or hang loose at your sides. This is your body in this moment, learning something new. Learning that it can let go, that it's safe to unclench, that tension isn't required right now. The early blueprint you received wasn't your choice. You didn't decide what kind of caregiving you would receive, what kind of nervous system regulation you would learn. That was given to you for better or worse by circumstances beyond your control. And if it wasn't ideal, if it left you with a baseline of anxiety or hypervigilance or difficulty accessing calm, that's not your fault. It's not evidence of your inadequacy. It's evidence of adaptation. Your nervous system learned exactly what it needed to learn to survive in the environment you were in. But survival strategies from childhood don't always serve adult life. What protected you then might limit you now, and recognizing that, understanding that your nervous system is simply following old programming, creates the possibility of something new, not overnight, not through sheer willpower, but gradually, gently, through repeated experiences that teach your body a different truth. You don't need to figure out all of your attachment history tonight. You don't need to analyze your childhood or trace every pattern back to its source. You can simply know that if calmness feels hard for you, if it feels foreign or unreachable, there are reasons for that. Good reasons. Understandable reasons. And those reasons don't have to be your future. They're just your starting point. And from any starting point, movement is possible. Let your breath slow now. Let it deepen just slightly, not forcing, just allowing. And as you breathe, know that you're safe here. In this moment, in this quiet space, nothing is demanding anything from you. You can simply rest. You can simply be. And as you do, we'll explore together what happens when the mind learns to pause, when the gap between feeling and reacting becomes a space of freedom rather than hesitation. Calm people share a quiet skill that often goes unnoticed by those around them. They've learned to create space between stimulus and response, between what happens and how they react. When something occurs, a criticism, a disappointment, an unexpected change, they pause, not because they're slow to feel, but because they've practiced noticing their initial reaction without immediately obeying it. This pause is not hesitation. It's not freezing or suppressing or avoiding. It's discernment. It's the ability to watch anger rise without becoming it, to feel anxiety without letting it dictate the next move. And this skill, this tiny gap between feeling and acting, is where calmness actually lives. The psychologist Viktor Frankl, who survived the Nazi concentration camps, wrote something profound about this space. He said that between stimulus and response there is a space, and in that space is our power to choose our response, and in our response lies our growth and our freedom. He learned this in the most extreme circumstances imaginable, where almost everything was beyond his control. But the one thing that remained his own was how he would respond internally to what was happening to him. That internal space, that moment of choice, was where his humanity and his freedom lived. You have access to this same space, though your circumstances are different. Every time something triggers you, a harsh word, a frustration, a moment of anxiety, there's a split second before you react. Most people move through that split second unconsciously. The trigger happens and the reaction follows automatically like a reflex. Someone criticizes you and you defend yourself. Something goes wrong and you spiral into worry. A boundary is crossed and you explode or collapse. These reactions feel inevitable, feel like they're just who you are, just how you respond. But calm people have learned to stretch that split second, to pause inside it, to notice what's arising without immediately acting on it. They feel the anger, yes. They notice the urge to snap back, to defend, to attack. But they don't immediately obey that urge. They watch it. They feel it move through their body, the heat in their chest, the tightness in their jaw, the way their hands want to clench. And in that watching, something shifts. The feeling doesn't disappear, but it loses some of its power. It becomes something happening to them rather than something controlling them. This is not about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally aware. It's about developing the capacity to feel fully, while also maintaining some part of yourself that can observe the feeling, that can witness it without being consumed by it. And this capacity is learnable. It's not a talent some people are born with. It's a skill that develops through practice, through repeatedly choosing to pause, to notice, to create that gap. Notice right now any sensations in your body. Maybe there's tightness somewhere, maybe there's ease, maybe there's nothing noticeable at all, just neutral sensation. Whatever is there, can you simply observe it? Can you notice it without trying to change it? This is the same skill, observing without immediately reacting. Being with what is without needing to fix it or escape it or transform it. Just noticing, just being present with whatever is true right now. Your jaw might be holding tension. Your shoulders might be raised slightly, your breath might be shallow, and you can notice these things without judgment, without making them mean anything about you, without immediately trying to relax or release. Just notice. This is how calm people live. They notice tension without adding a story about it. They notice emotion without becoming it. They create space again and again between what they observe and how they respond. And in that space, choice becomes possible. You can feel angry and choose not to speak until the intensity softens. You can feel anxious and choose to take 3 breaths before making a decision. You can feel hurt and choose to wait before reacting, giving yourself time to understand what you actually need rather than just defending against pain. This doesn't mean you never react. It doesn't mean you become some perfectly controlled robot who never expresses authentic emotion. It means you develop the freedom to choose your response rather than being driven by unconscious patterns. And that freedom, that small space of choice, is where calmness grows. Not as suppression, not as detachment, but as conscious presence with whatever is arising. You don't need to master this tonight. You don't need to suddenly develop perfect emotional regulation or learn to pause in every triggering moment. You just need to know that the space exists, that it's there between every stimulus and every response, and that you can learn to inhabit it. You can learn to stretch it. You can learn to make it a place of freedom, rather than just a split second that passes unconsciously. Let yourself relax now, deeper into this moment. Let your body sink. Let your thoughts slow. You're learning something here, even in rest, even in this quiet listening. You're learning that you have more choice than you realized, more freedom than you knew, and that knowing can settle into you gently, without effort, as you drift towards sleep. There's a quality that calm people carry that isn't visible on the surface, something that lives beneath their steady presence. It's an inner certainty that has nothing to do with knowing what will happen next. It's not confidence in the traditional sense, not a belief that everything will work out or that they'll always succeed. It's something deeper and more subtle than that. It's a quiet trust that they can handle whatever emerges, not because they have all the answers, but because they've survived uncertainty before and learned something essential from it. This certainty isn't built in moments of triumph or success. It's not born from getting everything right or having life go according to plan. It's built in the quiet aftermath of difficulty, in those moments when you realize that something you thought would destroy you actually didn't. You went through the breakup and survived. You lost the job and found another way. You faced the fear and discovered that you were still standing on the other side. Each of these experiences, each moment of enduring what felt unendurable, leaves a mark on your nervous system. Not a scar exactly, but a memory. A somatic record that says, I have been through hard things before. I made it through. I can make it through again. Calm people have accumulated these memories. They've been tested by life, often more than once, and they've learned through direct experience that they're more resilient than they thought. This doesn't make future challenges easy. It doesn't eliminate fear or worry or the normal human response to uncertainty, but it does create a foundation, a baseline of trust in their own capacity to endure, to adapt, to find their way through whatever comes. The psychologist Martin Seligman studied this phenomenon and called it learned optimism, though It's perhaps more accurate to call it learned trust. It's not about being positive or expecting good outcomes. It's about knowing, at a cellular level, that you have the resources to handle difficulty because you've proven it to yourself before. Your nervous system stores these experiences as evidence that you're capable, evidence that you can regulate yourself, evidence that hard things pass and you remain. And here's what makes this understanding so powerful. Every time you move through a difficult moment without falling apart, you're building this foundation. Every time you feel overwhelmed and then find your way back to steady ground, you're teaching your system something it can rely on later. You're creating proof of your own resilience, not resilience as some cheerful bouncing back, but resilience as the simple, profound capacity to keep existing through hard things. Notice your breath moving in and out. You don't have to think about breathing. Your body knows how to do this. It's been breathing your entire life without any conscious instruction from you. This is a kind of trust too, isn't it? Your body knows what to do. It knows how to keep you alive, how to regulate your temperature, how to heal wounds, how to sleep and wake and digest and exist. You carry this incredible intelligence inside you, this system that has kept you going through every single day of your life so far. That same intelligence that breathes you, that beats your heart without your input, that heals your cuts and fights off illness. That intelligence also knows how to navigate difficulty. It knows how to adapt. It knows how to find equilibrium again after disruption. And every time you've survived something hard, you've proven this to yourself. You've demonstrated that your system knows how to handle what life brings. Calm people trust this. They don't necessarily think about it consciously, but they live from a place that knows. I don't know what's coming, but I know I can meet it. Not perfectly, not without struggle or pain or fear, but I can meet it. I can handle it. I've handled hard things before, and I survived them, and I'm still here. This trust isn't arrogance. It's not a belief that you're invincible or that nothing can hurt you. It's simpler and humbler than that. It's just the accumulated evidence that you are, in fact, still here. You've made it through 100% of your worst days so far. Every single thing you thought might destroy you didn't. You're still breathing. You're still existing. You're still capable of being present in this moment, listening to these words, letting yourself rest. You don't need to manufacture this certainty tonight. You don't need to convince yourself of anything, or talk yourself into some false confidence. You can simply notice that it's true. You have survived everything up until this moment. Whatever brought you here, whatever hard thing you faced, whatever challenges have tested you, you made it through. And that's not nothing. That's evidence. That's proof. Your body knows this, even if your mind sometimes doubts it. Let that knowing settle into you now. Let your body remember its own strength, its own capacity, its own resilience. Not as something you need to prove or demonstrate, just as something that is. You can rest in that. You can let yourself be held by the simple truth that you've endured before and you can endure again. And for tonight, you don't need to endure anything at all. You can simply rest, simply breathe, simply let yourself drift towards sleep, knowing that you're exactly where you need to be. Calm isn't the absence of difficulty. It never has been. The people who remain steady in chaos aren't living easy lives or somehow exempt from hardship. They're experiencing the same challenges, the same disappointments, the same unexpected turns that everyone faces. But they've developed a different relationship with these experiences. They've learned something that transforms everything, the practice of acceptance. And acceptance, real acceptance, isn't what most people think it is. Acceptance doesn't mean approval. It doesn't mean you're happy about what's happening or that you think everything is fine. It doesn't mean you're giving up or becoming passive or resigning yourself to circumstances you wish were different. Acceptance means seeing what is, clearly and completely, without layering it with the stories of what should have been. It means acknowledging reality as it actually exists in this moment, rather than fighting against it in your mind. When you resist reality, when you spend your energy arguing with what's already happened or what's currently true, you create internal friction. Your mind fights against what already exists, and that fight is exhausting. It's like standing in a river trying to push the water back upstream. The water is going to flow regardless of your pushing. Your resistance doesn't change the river, it only exhausts you. Calm people have learned, consciously or unconsciously, to drop that fight. Not because they don't care, not because they've become indifferent, but because they understand that peace begins with acknowledging what's true, and then, from that place of clear seeing, deciding how to respond. This is radically different from either fighting reality or collapsing into helplessness. It's a third option that most people never discover: accepting what is while still choosing how to engage with it. The Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron writes about this as the practice of meeting life without our armour, without the constant commentary of should and shouldn't, without the exhausting effort of trying to make reality conform to our preferences. She describes it as touching the rawness of experience directly, feeling what's actually happening rather than what we wish was happening. And in that direct contact with reality, something unexpected occurs. The thing we were resisting often loses some of its power, not because it changes, but because we stop adding our resistance to it. When something difficult happens and you can simply say, "This is what's happening right now," without immediately adding, "and it shouldn't be," or "this is terrible," or "I can't handle this," you create space. Space between the event and your suffering about the event. The event itself might be genuinely difficult, but the suffering that comes from resisting it, from arguing with reality, from insisting it should be different, that's optional. That's the part you can release. Notice right now if there's anything in your body that feels uncomfortable. Maybe there's tension somewhere. Maybe there's an ache or a tightness. And notice what happens if you simply acknowledge it without trying to fix it. Quote 4, not quote 5 or quote 6, just quote 7. This simple act of accepting what is, without the layer of should or shouldn't, often allows the tension to soften on its own. Not always, but often. Because you're no longer adding resistance to the experience. This is how calm people move through difficult circumstances. They see clearly what's happening. They feel their emotional response to it, and they don't add another layer of suffering by insisting reality should be different than it is. Someone loses their job, and instead of spiraling into quote 8, they can hold the simpler truth, quote 9. The difficulty doesn't disappear, but the additional suffering of resistance does. Acceptance creates calm not by making hard things easy, but by reducing the internal friction that makes hard things unbearable. When you stop fighting with reality, you free up enormous amounts of energy. Energy that was going into that futile fight can now go toward actually responding to what's happening, toward adapting, toward finding your next move. Acceptance isn't passive, it's actually the most practical thing you can do. Because you can only respond effectively to what you've first acknowledged is true. You don't need to accept everything tonight. You don't need to suddenly let go of all resistance or become perfectly at peace with difficult circumstances in your life. You just need to know that acceptance is available, that it's different from resignation, and that it might be the doorway to the calm you're looking for. When you stop arguing with what is, when you simply acknowledge reality without the exhausting overlay of how it should be different, something in you can finally rest. Let yourself feel that possibility now. Let your body soften around whatever is true in this moment. You don't need to fix anything. You don't need to change anything. You can simply be here with what is, exactly as it is. And in that simple being, in that dropping of resistance, calm becomes possible. Not as something you create, but as something that emerges naturally when you stop creating its opposite. There's a reason every meditation teacher, every therapist, every trauma specialist, every wisdom tradition across cultures and centuries comes back to the same thing: breath. It seems almost too simple, too obvious. But breath is the only part of your autonomic nervous system that you can consciously control. It's the bridge between your body's automatic responses and your intentional presence. It's the thread that connects your conscious mind to the ancient systems that govern stress and calm, activation and rest. Calm people often breathe differently. Not because they're trying to, not because they're following some technique every moment of every day, but because they have unconsciously trained their bodies to return to slower, deeper rhythms. Their baseline breathing pattern has shifted over time through practice or presence, or simply through repeatedly choosing to notice and slow their breath in moments of stress. And this shift in breathing creates a shift in everything else. When you breathe slowly, when you extend your exhale to be longer than your inhale, you send a very specific signal to your brainstem. You activate your parasympathetic nervous system, the part that governs rest and digestion and calm. You stimulate that vagus nerve we talked about earlier, telling it to signal safety throughout your entire system. Your brainstem receives this message. The breathing is slow, therefore there is no danger here. A person being chased by a tiger doesn't breathe slowly and deeply. Slow, deep breathing only happens in safety. And so your body, receiving this signal from your breath, begins to respond as if you are safe. Heart rate slows, blood pressure lowers, muscles begin to soften, and the mind, taking cues from the body, begins to settle. This isn't about forcing calm or pretending everything's fine. It's about using the body to remind the brain that safety is available, even when external circumstances feel uncertain. It's about accessing the one lever you can always pull, regardless of what's happening around you. You might not be able to control what someone else says or does. You might not be able to control whether you get the job or how the situation resolves. But you can always return to your breath. You can always make your next exhale a little longer, a little slower, and in doing so, you can shift your internal state, even if only slightly, even if only for this moment. Notice your breath now. Just notice it without changing anything. Is it shallow or deep, fast or slow? Where do you feel it most? In your chest, in your belly, in your throat? There's no right answer. Just notice what's true. And now, if you're willing, let your next exhale be just slightly longer than it was before. Not forcing, not straining, just allowing the out-breath to extend a little, to slow a little, to complete itself fully before the next inhale begins. Feel what happens in your body when you do this. There might be a subtle softening in your chest, a slight release of tension in your shoulders, a quiet settling that happens almost imperceptibly. This is your nervous system responding to the signal you're sending. This is your body beginning to remember that it knows how to rest, how to release, how to let down its guard. The breath teacher James Nestor writes about how breathing is the first thing we do when we're born and the last thing we do before we die, and everything in between depends on how we breathe. He studied breathing patterns across different cultures and found that the most resilient, healthiest populations tended to breathe more slowly, more deeply, using their diaphragm rather than shallow chest breathing. And this wasn't because they'd been taught special techniques. It was just how they breathed naturally as part of their way of living. You can return to this natural pattern. Your body knows how to breathe fully and deeply. It knew how when you were born. Babies breathe with their whole body, their belly rising and falling with each breath. Somewhere along the way, many of us lost that. We started breathing shallowly, up in our chest, taking quick little sips of air rather than full, nourishing breaths. But the capacity is still there. It never left. It's just waiting to be remembered. Let your hand rest on your belly now if that feels comfortable. And as you breathe in, see if you can feel your hand rise slightly as your belly expands. This is diaphragmatic breathing, the kind that fully inflates your lungs, the kind that signals safety most clearly to your nervous system. And as you exhale, feel your belly fall, feel your hand lower, feel everything releasing and emptying and letting go. You don't need to breathe this way all the time. You don't need to monitor your breath constantly or make it into another thing you're doing wrong if you forget. But you can remember that this is always available. In any moment of stress, in any moment of overwhelm, in any moment when calm feels far away, you can return to breath. You can slow it down. You can deepen it. You can use it as an anchor, as a bridge back to presence, as a way to tell your body that it's safe to rest. And right now, in this moment, you can simply breathe. Simply notice the breath moving in and out. Simply feel your body breathing itself without any effort from you. This is enough. This is everything. This simple act of breathing, of being present with breath, is building the foundation of calm inside you, breath by breath, moment by moment, whether you realize it or not. Let yourself continue breathing slowly now. Let each exhale be a release, a letting go, a softening deeper into rest. You're safe here. You're held. And your breath knows the way home. Calm people feel everything. They feel anger, fear, sadness, frustration, disappointment, joy, all of it. But there's something subtle happening in how they relate to these feelings, something that makes all the difference. They don't become those feelings. They experience them, they notice them, they allow them to move through. But they don't identify with them as who they are. This is a profound distinction, small in the telling but transformative in the living. When anxiety arises in a calm person, they notice it. They might say internally, or even out loud, quote 10, not quote 11. This tiny shift in language reflects a much deeper shift in relationship. The anxiety is there, yes, it's real. It's present in the body as tension, as rapid heartbeat, as churning thoughts. But it's a weather pattern moving through, not a permanent state of being. It's something happening to them, with them, inside them, but it's not them. Think about the difference between these two statements. I am angry versus I'm noticing anger. The first one creates identity. It makes anger into who you are in this moment, something you're fused with, something that directs your actions. The second one creates space. It acknowledges the anger while maintaining some part of you that can observe it, that can be present with it without being controlled by it. This observing part, this witnessing consciousness, is what allows calm people to feel intensely without being overwhelmed. This capacity is sometimes called metacognition, the ability to think about your thinking, to observe your own mental and emotional processes. It's what meditation teachers point to when they talk about the observer or the witness. It's that part of you that can notice quote 14, rather than simply believing quote 15 as an unquestioned truth. It's the part that can watch emotion arise, peak and fade, without needing to act on every impulse the emotion generates. The psychologist Tara Brach describes this as the difference between being lost in the story and being present with the experience. When you're lost in the story, you're identified with the emotion. You are the anger, you're the anxiety, you're the sadness. The emotion has consumed your entire sense of self in this moment. But when you're present with the experience, you're feeling the emotion while also holding it in awareness. You can notice. This is what anger feels like in my body. This is how anxiety moves through me. This is the flavor of this particular sadness. Notice right now any emotion that might be present, even if it's subtle. Maybe there's a small thread of worry about something. Maybe there's contentment. Maybe there's tiredness or restlessness or nothing particularly noticeable. Whatever is there, can you observe it? Can you name it in your mind as there's worry or there's contentment, rather than I am worried or I am content? This small shift creates freedom. You're not denying the feeling, you're not suppressing it or pretending it isn't there. You're actually paying more attention to it, but from a place of spacious awareness rather than complete identification. This is how calm people can feel angry without attacking. The anger is there, intense and real, but they're not consumed by it. They can notice it, feel it fully, and still choose how to respond. They can feel afraid without fleeing, because the fear is a sensation, an emotion, a response, but not the totality of who they are in this moment. This doesn't make them robotic or disconnected. It actually makes them more emotionally intelligent, more capable of responding to their feelings with wisdom, rather than simply reacting from them. And here's what makes this so powerful. When you stop identifying with every emotion that passes through, you realize how temporary they all are. Emotions are like waves. They rise, they peak, they crash, they recede. If you're identified with the wave, if you are the wave, then each rise and fall feels like life and death. But if you can observe the wave while also knowing you're the ocean, you can let the waves move through you. You can feel them fully without being destroyed by them. You remain underneath all the movement, all the rising and falling, all the intensity. You remain. Let yourself feel this now. Whatever emotion is present, even if it's just a mild flavor of something, notice it without grabbing onto it. Notice it without pushing it away. Just let it be there, the way you might notice a cloud passing across the sky. You wouldn't try to hold on to the cloud or push it away. You'd just watch it move through. Your emotions can move through in the same way if you let them. If you stop identifying with them and simply let them be weather patterns in your inner sky. You don't need to master this tonight. You don't need to suddenly develop perfect non-identification with all your emotions. You just need to know that this capacity exists inside you. You can feel and observe at the same time. You can be with your emotions without becoming them, and in that subtle shift, in that small space of awareness, calm becomes possible even in the midst of intense feeling. Let yourself rest now in that knowing. Let your body soften. Let your breath slow. You're more than any emotion that passes through you. You are the awareness in which all emotions arise and fade. And that awareness is calm, is steady, is always here, underneath everything else. One of the most liberating realizations calm people reach, often after years of taking things personally, is this simple truth. Most of what happens isn't about them. When someone is rude, it's usually about their pain, their stress, their unresolved history. When plans fall apart, it's usually about timing, about circumstances, about the intersection of many factors beyond any one person's control. When criticism stings, it's often because it's touching an old wound, activating a familiar pattern, rather than revealing some new truth about your inadequacy. This isn't about absolving others of responsibility for their behavior. It's not about denying your feelings or pretending that nothing anyone says or does affects you. It's about recognizing something much simpler. The world is full of people acting from their own unresolved histories, their own fears, their own limitations, their own pain. And most of the time, what they say and do is a reflection of their internal state, not an objective truth about you. When someone snaps at you in traffic or in line at the grocery store, they're not evaluating your worth as a human being and finding you lacking. They're stressed, They're overwhelmed. They're running late or dealing with something difficult or just having a bad day. Their rudeness is about them. When a colleague is short with you, it might have nothing to do with your work or your value. They might be dealing with pressure you know nothing about, struggling with something personal, carrying tension that has nothing to do with you but that spills out anyway. And when you stop interpreting every slight as evidence of your inadequacy, when you stop making other people's behavior mean something fundamental about your worth, you stop needing to defend yourself constantly. You can hear criticism without immediately mobilizing your defenses. You can experience someone else's anger or disappointment without taking it on as proof of your failure. You can let other people have their reactions, their moods, their struggles, without making those things about you. The author Miguel Ruiz writes about this as one of his 4 agreements. Don't take anything personally. He explains that nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. When you're immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. This doesn't mean you become callous or uncaring. It means you stop letting other people's storms blow through your inner world and destroy your peace. Notice what happens in your body when you think about the last time someone was upset with you or critical of you. There might be a tightening, a defensive bracing, a familiar contraction. This is the pattern of taking things personally. Your body is preparing to defend, to protect, to prove your worth, and that defensive energy is exhausting. It keeps you on high alert. It makes every interaction potentially threatening. But what if you could hear the same criticism and simply stay soft? Not because you don't care, but because you understand that the criticism is information about the other person's perspective, not an objective truth about your value. They see what they see through their own filters, their own history, their own needs and expectations, and sometimes what they see is accurate and useful. Sometimes it's worth considering, worth learning from. But sometimes it's just their stuff, their projection, their pain speaking. Calm people have learned to discern the difference. They can hear feedback without immediately accepting it as gospel or rejecting it defensively. They can consider it. They can ask, is there truth here that's useful for me? Or is this mostly about the other person's state of mind? And then they can respond from that place of discernment rather than from automatic reaction. This creates immense freedom. When you're not constantly defending yourself, you don't need to be on guard all the time. When you're not taking everything personally, you can move through the world with less armor. You can stay open and soft because other people's reactions don't have the power to destroy your sense of self. You know who you are. You know your worth isn't dependent on what anyone else thinks or says or does. And from that knowing, you can be with people without needing them to validate you constantly. Let your shoulders drop now. Let your jaw unclench if it's holding tension. Notice if you're holding yourself against some imagined criticism or judgment. See if you can let that go. See if you can simply be here, in this moment, without needing to prove anything to anyone, without needing to defend against anything. You're safe here. No one is evaluating you. No one is judging you. You can simply rest in yourself exactly as you are, without the exhausting effort of constantly managing how others perceive you. This is what calm feels like. Not indifference, not detachment, but freedom. Freedom from the tyranny of other people's opinions. Freedom from the constant need to defend or prove or justify yourself. Freedom to simply be, to exist, to move through the world without taking everything personally. And in that freedom, there's so much more space for peace, for presence, for the quiet steadiness that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval or understanding. You don't need to figure out how to do this perfectly. You don't need to suddenly stop taking anything personally. You just need to know that it's possible, that most of what happens isn't about you, and that you can choose how much weight to give other people's reactions and opinions. That choice, that small freedom, is where calm lives. As we settle deeper now into this exploration, into this gentle unfolding of understanding, let's turn towards something that sits at the very heart of calmness. It's something calm people understand, though they might never articulate it quite this way. It's a shift in how they relate to control, a letting go of something most people grip tightly without even realizing they're doing it. Calm people have learned, often through painful experience, that control is mostly an illusion. Not entirely, but mostly. You cannot control outcomes. You can influence them, yes. You can work toward them, plan for them, do everything in your power to shape them, but you cannot control them. Too many variables exist beyond your reach. Too much depends on other people's choices, on timing, on circumstances you can't foresee or manage. You cannot control other people, no matter how much you wish you could, no matter how clear it is to you what they should do. They have their own minds, their own wounds, their own ways of being in the world. You cannot control time or circumstance, or the unfolding of events. Life moves at its own pace, following patterns and forces far larger than any individual will. But you can control your attention. You can control where you place your focus, what you choose to notice, what you allow to occupy your mind. You can control your response, not always perfectly, not always easily, but you can choose how you meet what life brings. You can control what you let into your inner world and what you release. These are the things that are actually yours to shape, to direct, to influence completely. And this shift from trying to control everything to controlling only what's truly yours creates immense relief. The body stops bracing against every possible outcome. The mind stops running endless scenarios, trying to anticipate every variable, attempting to force reality into preferred shapes. And in that release, in that letting go of the illusion of control, calmness finds room to breathe. Think about how much energy you spend trying to control things that aren't actually controllable. Trying to make someone understand you, trying to force a situation to resolve in a particular way, trying to prevent something difficult from happening, worrying about all the things that might go wrong, as if the worrying itself could prevent them. This is exhausting. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you grip, the more it slips through your fingers. Calm people have learned to open their hands, not in resignation, not in giving up, but in recognition of what's real. They focus their energy on what they can actually influence. Their own thoughts, their own actions, their own responses. They prepare as best they can, and then they let go of attachment to how things unfold. This doesn't mean they don't care about outcomes. It means they're not destroying their peace in the present moment by trying to force future moments into particular shapes. Notice right now how your body is being supported. You're not holding yourself up. Gravity is doing that work. The surface beneath you is carrying your weight without any effort from you. You can simply let yourself be held. This is what it feels like to release control, to stop trying to manage everything, to force everything, to grip everything so tightly. You can let yourself be held by what is, by what's actually here, by the simple reality that some things you can control and many things you cannot. Let your breath slow even more now. Let each exhale be a gentle releasing. You don't need to control how you fall asleep. You don't need to make it happen or force it or manage it. Sleep comes when you stop trying, when you simply allow your body to do what it knows how to do. This is true for so many things. The harder you try to control them, the more they resist. But when you soften, when you allow, when you focus only on what's actually yours to direct, things often unfold more naturally than they ever could through force. You're safe here. You don't need to hold everything together. You don't need to manage every detail. You can let go of the burden of trying to control what was never yours to control in the first place. You can rest in the things you can actually influence. Your own presence, your own awareness, your own breath, and let everything else unfold as it will. This is where calm lives, in that release, in that softening, in that deep understanding that you're not responsible for controlling the universe, only for meeting it with as much presence and wisdom as you can manage right now. Notice, right now, the weight of your body against the surface beneath you. Just notice it. Feel how gravity holds you without any effort on your part. Your shoulders, your spine, your hips, all supported. You're not doing anything to make this happen. The earth is simply holding you the way it has held you every single day of your life. This is always here, this support, this fundamental safety of being held by what's beneath you. This is what calm people return to, again and again, not the mind stories about what could go wrong, not the endless planning and worrying and trying to control what hasn't happened yet, but the body's present moment experience of being held, of being here, of being safe enough right now to simply notice what's true. You don't need to create this safety. It's already here. You just need to notice it, to feel it, to let yourself sink into it. Let your jaw soften now if it's clenched. There's no need to hold tension there. Let your tongue rest gently in your mouth, not pressed against the roof, just soft and easy. Let your face relax, all the tiny muscles around your eyes and forehead and cheeks. Let them release. You're not performing right now. You don't need to hold any particular expression. You can simply let your face be neutral, soft, at rest. This is how calm begins, in these small moments of allowing the body to remember safety. Your nervous system is always listening to what your body's doing when your body is tense, braced, holding. Your nervous system interprets that as a signal that there's danger nearby, that you need to stay alert and ready. But when your body softens, when muscles release, when breath slows, your nervous system receives a different message. It hears, "We're safe here. We can rest." There's no threat that requires our activation right now. You're sending that message right now just by lying here, just by letting yourself be held, just by softening in these small ways, and your nervous system is listening, it's responding. It's beginning to understand that it can let down its guard, that calmness is available, that rest is possible. Let your hands unclench if they're holding any tension. Let your fingers open, let your palms soften, let your wrists release. Feel the weight of your arms, how they rest against whatever is beneath them or beside them. You don't need to hold them in any particular position. You can just let them be, heavy and relaxed, completely at rest. This is what the body knows, even when the mind forgets. The body knows how to rest. It knows how to soften. It knows how to let go of holding and simply be held. You've done this thousands of times before. Every single night of your life when you've fallen asleep. Your body knows this territory. It knows how to move from waking tension into sleeping release. And it's beginning to remember now as you lie here, as you notice, as you allow. You don't need to force anything. You don't need to make yourself relax or try to calm down through sheer willpower. You can simply notice where tension lives in your body and offer it permission to release. Not commanding it, not demanding it, just offering gentle permission. If your shoulders want to drop, they can drop. If your belly wants to soften, it can soften. If your legs want to grow heavy, they can grow heavy. Everything is allowed to rest now, and as your body rests, as it sinks deeper into the support beneath it, your mind naturally follows. Thoughts begin to slow, the urgency fades, the endless planning and analysing and worrying starts to quiet. Because your body is telling your mind, "We're safe here. We can rest now. There's nothing that needs to be solved in that moment." And your mind, receiving that signal from your body, begins to believe it, begins to let go, begins to drift toward the peace that's always been waiting underneath all the noise. You're held right now by gravity, by the surface beneath you, by the simple physics of being a body in space. You've always been held, even when everything else felt uncertain, even when life was hard, even when you didn't know what would happen next. You were held. You're being held right now, and you can trust that. You can let yourself sink into that trust. Let yourself rest in the knowing that you don't have to hold yourself together, that you can simply be held, that this is enough. Urgency is the enemy of calm. It's that feeling that everything must be solved now, decided now, fixed now, understood now. It's the pressure that builds in your chest and your throat, the tension that says you can't rest until this is resolved, you can't relax until you figure this out, you can't let go until you know what's going to happen. But calm people have learned to ask a simple question that changes everything. They ask, does this actually need to happen right now? And usually when they ask this question honestly, when they really examine what's driving the urgency, the answer is no. Most situations benefit from patience rather than speed. Most decisions improve with time rather than immediate resolution. Most crises lose their intensity when given space to breathe, when given room to settle before action is taken. The urgency often comes from anxiety, from the uncomfortable feeling of not knowing, from the desire to eliminate uncertainty as quickly as possible. But eliminating uncertainty quickly often means making hasty decisions, forcing outcomes, acting before you're ready. You've been conditioned to believe that speed equals competence, that hesitation equals weakness, that any pause or waiting is a failure of decisiveness. But true strength often looks like slowness, looks like being able to sit with uncertainty without immediately rushing to eliminate it. It looks like waiting when waiting is wise. It looks like letting things unfold rather than forcing resolution before its natural time. Think about how many times you felt urgent pressure to do something and fix something, decide something, only to realize later that the urgency was self-imposed, that nothing terrible would have happened if you'd waited, that in fact, waiting allowed clarity to emerge, allowed new information to arrive, allowed your own perspective to shift in ways that led to better outcomes. The urgency felt real in the moment, but it wasn't actually serving you. It was just anxiety masquerading as necessity. Calm people have learned to recognize this pattern. When they feel that urgent pressure building, they pause, they take a breath, they ask themselves, what's actually required right now? Not what my anxiety is demanding, but what's actually necessary in this moment? And often the answer is nothing. Nothing needs to happen right now. I can wait. I can let this settle. I can give myself time to think, to feel, to let clarity emerge naturally rather than forcing it. This doesn't mean they become passive or indecisive. It means they've learned to distinguish between true urgency and false urgency, between situations that genuinely require immediate action and situations that their anxiety is treating as emergencies even though they're not. Real emergencies do exist. Sometimes immediate action is necessary, but most of the time, most of what feels urgent is actually just uncomfortable. And discomfort, while unpleasant, is not an emergency. Notice if you're carrying any urgency right now, any feeling that you should be doing something, figuring something out, resolving something, making progress on something, and see if you can let that go, just for now. See if you can give yourself permission to not solve anything tonight, to not make any decisions, to not force any clarity or understanding. Everything can wait. Whatever needs your attention will still be there tomorrow, but tonight you can rest. You can let the urgency dissolve like sugar in water, slowly disappearing into the larger stillness. Let your breath move in and out at its own pace. You don't need to control it or deepen it or manage it. Just let it be. Let it find its own rhythm. This is what happens when you release urgency. Things find their natural rhythm. Your breath knows how to breathe. Your body knows how to rest. Your mind knows how to settle when you stop demanding that it produce answers immediately. And in that unforced space where you're not pushing or rushing or demanding immediate resolution, calmness naturally emerges. Not because you created it, but because you stopped creating its opposite. Urgency creates tension. Patience creates space. And in that space, in that gentle allowing of things to unfold in their own time, peace becomes possible, not as something you achieve, but as something that's always been here, waiting for you to stop rushing long enough to notice it. You don't need to be calm all the time. You don't need to fix your reactivity or overcome your sensitivity, or become some perfectly regulated person who never feels urgency or anxiety or overwhelm. Calmness isn't about erasing your humanness. It's not about transcending your emotional nature or rising above the normal human experience of stress and uncertainty. It's about holding all of it with more compassion, with more space, with more understanding. Some days you'll feel everything intensely, and that's not failure. That's not evidence that you're doing something wrong, or that you haven't learned anything, or that you're broken in some fundamental way. That's just being alive. That's being human. Emotional intensity isn't a problem to be solved. It's part of the richness of human experience, part of what makes you capable of deep joy and profound connection and meaningful engagement with life. The people who seem perpetually calm aren't better than you. They haven't achieved some elevated state that you're failing to reach. They've simply found ways to be with their feelings that don't amplify them unnecessarily. They've learned, through practice or pain or both, to create space around their emotions, to observe them without being consumed by them, to ride the waves without believing they are the waves. And you can learn this too, not by rejecting your emotional nature, but by honoring it while also creating space around it. You're allowed to feel deeply and still find peace. These two things are not opposites. They're not in conflict. Deep feeling and inner peace can coexist, can even enhance each other. When you're at peace with your capacity to feel, when you stop judging yourself for your sensitivity or your reactivity, the feelings themselves often become less overwhelming. It's the resistance to the feeling, the judgment about the feeling, the story that you shouldn't be feeling this way that amplifies the difficulty. The feeling itself, when met with acceptance and space, can move through more easily. Think about the last time you felt intensely emotional about something. Now think about all the additional suffering you added on top of the feeling itself. The thoughts about how you shouldn't feel this way. The judgment that you're too sensitive or too reactive. The comparison to others who seem to handle things more easily. The shame about having feelings at all. This additional layer, this meta-emotional reaction to your emotions, often creates more suffering than the original feeling ever did. What if you could feel sad without also judging yourself for being sad? What if you could feel anxious without piling on shame about your anxiety? What if you could feel angry without also feeling guilty about your anger? The original emotion would still be there. Yes, it might still be uncomfortable, but it would be simpler, cleaner, more manageable, because you wouldn't be fighting with yourself about having it. This is what calm people have learned. They feel what they feel, and they don't make the feeling mean something terrible about who they are. Sadness is just sadness. Anger is just anger. Anxiety is just anxiety. None of these emotions are evidence of failure or weakness or inadequacy. They're just human responses to human experiences, and when you can hold them that way, when you can validate your own emotional experience without judgment, something shifts. The emotions don't disappear, but they lose some of their power to overwhelm you. Notice right now if there's any judgment present about how you're feeling, about how you're doing, about whether you're relaxing correctly, or understanding these ideas properly, or moving toward calmness in the right way. See if you can let that judgment go. See if you can simply be here, exactly as you are, feeling whatever you're feeling, thinking whatever you're thinking, without making any of it wrong. You're doing fine. You're exactly where you need to be. There's no wrong way to listen to this, no wrong way to be in this moment. Let your body sink a little deeper now. Let yourself feel the support beneath you. Let yourself rest in the simple truth that you are enough, exactly as you are, with all your feelings and all your reactivity and all your beautiful, complicated humanity. You don't need to be different. You don't need to be calmer or more composed or more together. You can simply be you, learning and growing and sometimes struggling, and always, always worthy of compassion and understanding and peace. And as you rest here, as you let yourself be held by this knowing, you might notice that calmness isn't something separate from your emotional life. It's not about having fewer feelings or less intense reactions. It's about having more space around all of it, more capacity to hold yourself with kindness while you feel whatever you feel. That capacity, that spacious self-compassion, that's what creates lasting calm. Not the absence of emotion, but the presence of love for yourself in the midst of all your emotions. Calmness isn't always big or obvious or dramatic. It's not necessarily about perfect meditation sessions or mountain retreats, or achieving some enlightened state where nothing bothers you anymore. Most of the time, calmness lives in small moments, in tiny choices, in the ordinary situations of regular life. Sometimes it's just the ability to sit in traffic without rage building in your chest, without your whole day being ruined by something completely outside your control. Sometimes it's hearing bad news and taking 3 breaths before responding, instead of immediately reacting from the shock of it. Sometimes it's noticing frustration rising in your body and choosing not to speak until it softens, until you can respond from a place of clarity rather than heat. These small moments matter more than the big ones. They're where the practice actually lives, where calmness is built and reinforced and becomes part of who you are. Not in the exceptional circumstances, but in ordinary Tuesday afternoons when something goes wrong and you pause, just for a second, just long enough to create that tiny gap between stimulus and response. That pause is everything. That pause is where you become someone who can hold their own emotional weather without letting it dictate the entire day. Think about all the small moments today where you had a choice. Someone said something that could have been taken the wrong way, and you chose to let it go instead of taking offense. You felt tired and overwhelmed, and instead of pushing through with gritted teeth, you took a few minutes to rest. You started to spiral into worry about something, and you noticed it happening and brought yourself back to what's actually true in this moment. These aren't dramatic moments. Nobody sees them. Nobody applauds them. But they're the real work of cultivating calm. Every time you choose pause over immediate reaction, you're strengthening neural pathways. You're teaching your brain that there's space between feeling and acting, that you don't have to obey every impulse, that you have more control than you sometimes believe. Every time you notice tension and consciously soften, even just a little, you're training your nervous system to access relaxation more easily. Every time you catch yourself in a spiral of anxious thinking and gently redirect to what's present and real, you're building the skill of coming back to now. These repetitions matter, they accumulate, they become who you are. Calm isn't a destination you arrive at one day. It's a direction you point yourself in again and again, in small moments, in ordinary situations, in the unglamorous work of choosing presence over reactivity, one decision at a time. And some days you'll make that choice easily. Other days it will be hard. Some days you'll forget entirely and react the old way, the automatic way. And that's okay. That's part of the process. You're not trying to be perfect. You're just trying to notice more often, choose more consciously, create more space more of the time. Notice your breath right now. It's been breathing you this entire time, hasn't it? Even while you've been listening, even while your mind has been taking in these words and processing these ideas, your breath has continued in its steady rhythm. You didn't have to think about it. It just happened. This is the body's wisdom. This is the natural intelligence that keeps you alive, that regulates and balances and sustains you without any conscious effort. And this same wisdom knows how to return to calm. It knows how to release tension when you give it permission. It knows how to soften when you stop demanding that it stay braced. You don't have to force calmness. You just have to stop creating its opposite. You just have to notice when you're holding tension and gently offer the possibility of release. Your body knows what to do with that offer. It's been waiting for permission to rest, to let go, to stop working so hard to hold everything together. Let yourself rest now in these small moments of choice, these tiny opportunities to soften and release and come back to presence. You're building something here, slowly and gently, one breath at a time, one moment of noticing at a time. You're building the capacity for calm that lives not in perfect circumstances, but in how you meet imperfect ones. And that capacity, once built, becomes a resource you can access anywhere, anytime, in any situation. It becomes part of you, woven into your nervous system through all these small moments of practice. Let yourself sink deeper now. Let your body grow heavier. You're safe here. You can rest completely. All these small choices, all this gentle practice, it can rest too. For now, you don't need to work on anything or practice anything or become anything other than what you are. You can simply drift, simply soften, simply let yourself be held by this moment exactly as it is. Let yourself settle a little deeper now as we explore this gently, as we move into territory that feels perhaps more familiar, more accessible, more possible for you right now. Because here's something calm people understand that anxious people resist. Something that might feel counterintuitive, but that changes everything once you really feel it in your bones. You don't need all the answers to be okay right now. You don't need to figure everything out. You don't need to know what's going to happen tomorrow or next week or next year. You can rest in not knowing, and you can be okay anyway. Uncertainty is uncomfortable. There's no denying that. The human mind craves certainty like a body craves oxygen. It wants to know, to predict, to prepare, to eliminate all the variables that might lead to difficulty or pain or loss. This is natural. This is how minds work. Your mind isn't malfunctioning when it tries to figure everything out. It's trying to protect you, trying to create safety through knowledge, through preparation, through controlling what it can control. But here's what your mind doesn't always realize. Uncertainty is not the same as danger. Not knowing what will happen is uncomfortable, yes, but it's not actively harmful. You are right now in this present moment safe enough. You're breathing. You're here. Whatever you're uncertain about exists in the future, in a time that hasn't arrived yet, in a space of possibility rather than reality, and you don't need to solve the future to be okay right now. Your mind will insist that you need to figure everything out. It will tell you that you can't rest until you have a plan, until you know what you're going to do, until you've thought through every possible scenario and prepared for every potential outcome. But this is a trap, because the future is fundamentally unknowable. You can plan for it. Yes, you can prepare as best you can, but you cannot know it. You cannot control it. And the attempt to eliminate all uncertainty before you allow yourself to rest is a recipe for never resting at all. Calm people have learned to tolerate uncertainty, not to eliminate it, but to tolerate it, to sit with the discomfort of not knowing without immediately rushing to manufacture false certainty. They've learned that it's okay to say, quote 20, they've learned that uncertainty, while uncomfortable, is actually the natural state of being human in a complex world where millions of variables intersect in ways no one can fully predict. And in learning to tolerate uncertainty, they've discovered something profound. When you stop fighting with not knowing, when you stop demanding that your mind produce answers it doesn't have, a kind of peace becomes possible. Not the peace of having everything figured out, but the peace of accepting that you don't need to have everything figured out. The peace of trusting that when the time comes to act, when the moment arrives that requires a decision, you'll know what to do. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not with complete certainty, but you'll know enough. You always have before. Notice what happens in your body when you think about something uncertain in your life right now. There might be a tightening, a tension, a small clench of anxiety. This is your body responding to your mind's insistence that this uncertainty is dangerous, that you need to solve it immediately. But see if you can soften around that tension. See if you can hold the uncertainty without adding the story that it's unbearable, that you can't handle it, that you need to eliminate it right now before you can rest. The uncertainty will still be there. But maybe, just maybe, it doesn't have to control you. Maybe you can let it exist, uncomfortable as it is, while you rest anyway, while you let your body relax anyway, while you trust that tomorrow, when tomorrow comes, you'll be able to meet it with whatever wisdom and clarity you have access to then. But tonight, in this moment, you can let tomorrow remain unclear. You can let the future be uncertain. You can trust that you don't need to know everything to be okay. Let your breath slow now. Let each exhale be a releasing of the need to know, the need to figure out, the need to solve and plan and prepare. Just for now, just for this moment, you can let all of that go. You can rest in not knowing. you can let yourself simply be here, in this moment, where nothing needs to be solved, where no decisions need to be made, where uncertainty can exist without destroying your peace. You're safe here, even in not knowing, even in uncertainty, even in the discomfort of an unclear future. You're safe in this present moment, and this present moment is all you ever actually have. This breath, this heartbeat, this gentle awareness of being alive. Everything else is thought, is projection, is the mind trying to live in a time that doesn't exist yet. But here, now, you can rest, you can trust. You can let yourself drift towards sleep without needing to have all the answers first. Notice how much energy you spend trying to demonstrate your worth, trying to show that you're capable, that you're competent, that you're valuable. In conversations, in work, in relationships, there's often this underlying current of trying to prove yourself, trying to make sure others see your worth, trying to earn and re-earn your place in the world. It's exhausting, isn't it? This constant performance, this need to justify your existence, to show that you deserve to be here, to be loved, to be respected. Calm people have stopped doing this, not because they don't care what others think, not because they've become arrogant or disconnected from others' perspectives, but because they've realized something fundamental. Proving yourself is a game without end. There will always be someone who doubts you. There will always be someone whose approval you don't have. There will always be a new standard to meet, a new bar to clear, a new way you need to demonstrate your value. And if your peace depends on external validation, if your calm requires constant proof that you're good enough, you'll never find it. Because the need for proof is insatiable. It can never be fully satisfied. Think about all the ways you try to prove yourself in a single day. The way you explain your decisions, justify your choices, defend your perspective. The way you list your accomplishments, subtle or overt, trying to make sure others recognize your competence. The way you apologize excessively, trying to prove you're aware of your mistakes, that you're working on yourself, that you're not as flawed as you fear you might be. All of this takes enormous energy. All of this keeps you focused outward, measuring yourself against others' reactions, trying to manage their perception of you. But when you decide quietly and internally that you are enough regardless of what others see, something shifts. The frantic energy dissolves. The need to perform fades. What remains is a calm that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval or understanding or validation. You know your worth isn't determined by whether others recognize it. You know you're valuable whether or not anyone ever tells you so. And from that knowing, you can simply be. You can show up as yourself without the exhausting overlay of trying to prove yourself worthy of being here. This doesn't mean you stop caring about growth or feedback or how your actions affect others. It means you stop tying your fundamental worth to external validation. You stop believing that you need to earn the right to exist, to take up space, to have needs and wants and boundaries. You stop performing for an audience that will never give you the unconditional approval you're seeking, because that's not how external validation works. It's always conditional. It's always shifting. It's always dependent on factors you can't control. The only approval that can actually give you peace is your own. The only validation that creates lasting calm is self-validation. When you can look at yourself with clear eyes, seeing both your strengths and your struggles, your successes and your failures, your beauty and your mess, and say, I am enough, exactly as I am, in process, imperfect, and still fundamentally worthy, that's when the need to prove yourself starts to dissolve. Notice if you're holding any tension in your chest or your throat, that place where the need to prove and justify often lives. See if you can let it soften. See if you can, just for this moment, stop trying to be anything other than exactly what you are. You don't need to prove yourself here. You don't need to demonstrate your worth, or show that you're doing this correctly, or convince anyone of anything. You can simply be without performance, without justification, without needing to earn your place. This is what calm feels like when it's not dependent on external validation. It feels like coming home to yourself. It feels like finally putting down a burden you've been carrying for so long you forgot it was heavy. The burden of constantly trying to be enough for others, of managing their perception, of earning approval that was never yours to earn because worth is inherent, not achieved. Let yourself rest in that knowing now. Let your body feel the relief of not having to prove anything. Let your mind settle into the truth that you are enough. You have always been enough, and you will always be enough. Regardless of what anyone else thinks or says or believes about you, your worth is not up for debate. It's not dependent on performance. It's simply true, the way the sky is blue, the way water is wet. It just is. And in that simple truth, that unshakable knowing of your own inherent worth, there's a peace that nothing external can touch, a calm that doesn't need anyone else's permission or approval or validation to exist. It's yours. It's always been yours. And you can rest in it now, completely, without needing to prove a single thing. Let your eyes close if they haven't already. Let them grow heavy. Let them rest. Let your whole face soften into sleep. You've been holding so much for so long. All the effort, all the striving, all the trying to be better, calmer, more composed, more together. You've been working so hard to become someone you think you need to be, to achieve some version of yourself that seems more acceptable, more worthy, more at peace. But what if you could let all of that go now? What if you could stop trying to improve yourself? Stop trying to fix yourself? Stop trying to become anything other than what you already are? Not forever, not as a permanent giving up on growth, but just for tonight. Just for this moment, you can let yourself simply be, without improvement, without growth, without any goal other than rest. Calmness isn't something you achieve through effort. It's not a destination you reach by trying harder, or understanding more, or becoming better. It's something you allow. It's something that emerges naturally when you stop creating its opposite, when you stop fighting with yourself and reality, and the present moment. And right now, in this quiet space, calmness is already here. It's already available. Not because you've done anything to earn it or create it, but because it's the natural state that emerges when you simply stop resisting. In the stillness of your body you can feel it, in the rhythm of your breath, slow and steady and effortless, in the space between thoughts growing wider now, quieter, in the gentle awareness that you're here, you're breathing, and that's enough. You don't need to think about calmness or understand it or achieve it. You just need to notice it, to feel it already present, to let yourself sink into it like settling into warm water. Your body knows how to rest. It's been resting every night of your life, letting go of the day, letting go of holding, letting go of all the tension and effort and trying. And it's ready to rest now. Your muscles are softening, releasing their grip, melting down into the surface beneath you. Your breath is slowing, deepening, finding its own natural rhythm without any guidance from you. Your mind is quieting, thoughts becoming more distant, less insistent, fading like sounds from another room. You're safe here, completely safe. There's nothing you need to do, nothing you need to figure out, nothing you need to become. You can simply be here, in this moment, letting yourself drift, letting yourself soften, letting yourself sink deeper and deeper into rest. Calmness is holding you now. It's been here all along, waiting for you to stop searching for it long enough to notice that you're already held, already safe, already home. Let yourself go now. Let yourself release everything you've been carrying, all the thoughts and worries and plans and fears. Let them all dissolve into the darkness, into the soft quiet that's wrapping around you like a blanket. You don't need any of it right now. You don't need to hold on to anything. You can simply drift, simply float, simply let yourself be carried by sleep as it approaches, gentle and inevitable and yours. Calmness isn't about never breaking, never falling apart, never feeling overwhelmed or scared or lost. That's not what makes someone calm. What makes someone calm is this. They've broken before, they've fallen apart, they've felt all those things, and they survived them. They came through, they rebuilt, and that experience, that lived knowledge of breaking and surviving, teaches the nervous system something profound. It teaches it that difficult emotions pass, that pain doesn't last forever, that even the worst moments eventually shift, change, become something different. The people who seem most unshakable have often been broken more times than you know. They felt overwhelming grief that they thought would swallow them whole. They've experienced paralyzing fear that made them certain they couldn't go on. They've endured crushing disappointment that shattered their sense of how life was supposed to unfold. And they survived all of it. Not because they were stronger or better equipped or more resilient by nature, but simply because they kept breathing, kept existing, kept moving through one moment and then the next until eventually the intensity passed and they found themselves still standing. That survival taught them something their nervous system now remembers, something that lives in their body as a kind of cellular knowledge. This too shall pass. Not as a platitude, not as something someone tells you that you're supposed to believe, but as a lived truth, proven again and again by direct experience. Hard emotions arise, feel unbearable, peak, and then gradually, inevitably, they soften, they change. They become something you can live with, something you can carry, something that no longer threatens to destroy you, even if it never fully disappears. When you carry that knowing in your body, when you've lived through storms and found yourself still here afterward, you stop fearing the next one quite so much. You don't welcome it, you don't enjoy it, but you don't panic in the same way because you know something fundamental about your own capacity to endure. You know you'll make it through, you always have. And that knowledge creates a kind of calm that doesn't depend on circumstances being easy or pain being absent. It's a calm rooted in trust in your own resilience, your own ability to survive what feels unsurvivable. Notice the weight of your head on the pillow now, how it's being held without any effort from you. Notice how your whole body is being supported, how you don't have to work to hold yourself up, how you can simply let yourself be held. This is what it feels like to trust in your own resilience. You don't have to hold yourself together so tightly, because you know that even if you fall apart, even if things become too much, you'll find your way back to wholeness. You always do. Let your chest soften. Let your ribs relax. Let your breath move through you with less and less effort. You're safe here. Whatever you've survived before, whatever you've endured and come through, it's left you stronger than you realize. Not in some dramatic way, not as some kind of superhuman capacity, but simply as proof that you can handle difficulty, that you're more resilient than you sometimes believe, that hard things pass and you remain. You don't need to think about any of this. You don't need to remember specific times you've survived hard things or consciously access those memories. Your body remembers. Your nervous system holds that knowledge. And right now, as you rest here, as you let yourself sink deeper into sleep, that knowledge is supporting you, holding you, reminding you at a level deeper than thought that you're okay. You've always been okay. You'll continue to be okay even when things are hard. Let yourself drift now, deeper into that trust, deeper into the knowing that you are more resilient than you fear, more capable than you doubt, more able to endure than you sometimes believe. Not because you're special or exceptional, or simply because you're human. And humans are remarkably, profoundly resilient creatures who survive and adapt and continue and find their way through, even when the way seems impossible. Softening now into the present moment, into this breath, into this quiet space where nothing needs to be understood or solved or survived. Just this gentle resting, this soft sinking into sleep, this trust that you can rest completely because you know, somewhere deep inside, that you're strong enough to meet whatever comes and gentle enough to rest when rest is what's needed. Like now, right now. Notice the temperature of the air on your skin, cool or warm, just notice. Notice the weight of your head on the pillow, how it's completely supported. Notice how your chest rises and falls without any instruction from you. This is all that exists right now. Not yesterday's regrets, not tomorrow's uncertainties, not the past or the future or anything beyond this single moment. Just this breath, just this sensation, just this gentle aliveness. Calm people return here again and again. Not because the present is always pleasant, not because right now is always easy or comfortable, but because it's the only place where peace actually lives. The mind wanders constantly into past and future, creating stories and fears and endless what-ifs, replaying what happened and rehearsing what might happen, living everywhere except here. But the body only knows now. The body only exists in this present moment. And now, in this moment, regardless of what your mind might be saying, you're actually safe. Think about what's actually happening right now in this precise moment. You're lying down, you're breathing, you're warm enough or cool enough, you're not in danger, there's no threat that requires your immediate action. Nothing is actually wrong in this present moment, even if your mind can generate 100 thoughts about what's wrong in general, about problems that exist, or might exist, or have existed. But right now, in the only moment that actually exists, you're okay. This is where calm lives, not in having all your problems solved or your future secured or your past resolved. It lives here, in the simple recognition that right now, in this breath, in this heartbeat, you're safe enough to rest. Everything else, all the complexity and difficulty and uncertainty, exist in time that isn't here yet or time that's already passed. But this moment, this singular present moment, is actually okay. When you can return here, when you can anchor yourself in what's actually true right now rather than what your mind is projecting or remembering, something shifts. The anxiety that lives in future thinking begins to quiet. The regret that lives in past thinking begins to soften. What remains is just this, just now, just the simple truth of your existence in this moment. Let your awareness settle into your breath now, not changing it, not deepening it, just feeling it. The cool air entering your nose, the warm air leaving, the gentle pause between breaths, that moment of perfect stillness before the next breath begins. This rhythm has been with you since the moment you were born. It will be with you until the moment you die. It's the most fundamental expression of your aliveness, this breathing, this constant exchange between your body and the world. And it only happens now, not in the past, not in the future, but in this present moment. Each breath is a return to now, to what's actually happening, to the simple truth of being alive in a body that knows how to breathe all by itself. When your mind wanders into worry or regret, into planning or analysing, into anywhere but here, your breath remains as an anchor. You can always return to it. You can always come back to now by simply noticing that you're breathing. Feel your shoulders now, how they've dropped, how they're resting. Feel your jaw loose and soft. Feel your hands open and relaxed. Your whole body is here, in this moment, resting in the only time that actually exists, and in this moment, in this very specific now, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to solve anything. You don't need to be anything other than exactly what you are. Just breathing, just here, just now. Let yourself sink deeper into this present moment. Let it hold you the way the surface beneath you holds your body. Let it be enough. Just this breath, just this heartbeat, just this gentle existing. Everything you need is here. Safety is here. Peace is here. Calm is here. Not because you've achieved something or figured something out, but because you've simply stopped leaving. You've stopped living in time that doesn't exist, and you've returned to the only moment that does. This one, right now. And it's enough. You're enough. Everything is enough. Just this. You don't need to figure out why you feel what you feel. You don't need to analyze every pattern, trace every emotion back to its source, understand the psychological mechanisms or the childhood experiences or the neural pathways that created your current state. Sometimes feelings just are. Sometimes the mind is noisy for no clear reason. Sometimes anxiety rises like a tide with no obvious cause. Sometimes sadness settles in like fog with no story attached to it. And all of that can be okay. You can stop demanding explanations and simply allow the experience to move through you, like clouds passing across the sky. You don't need to understand why that particular cloud formed or where it came from or why it's shaped the way it is. You can simply watch it drift by, knowing it will eventually pass, knowing the sky remains behind it, like waves rolling onto shore. You don't need to analyze the molecular composition of water or understand the physics of tide patterns. You can simply watch the wave come in, peak and recede, knowing another will follow and another after that, each one temporary, each one passing. Your emotions move in the same way. They come, they peak, they fade, and you don't need to do anything but witness them. You don't need to fix them or explain them or make them make sense. You don't need to justify why you're feeling what you're feeling, or convince yourself that you shouldn't feel this way, or figure out the root cause before you're allowed to rest. You can simply let the feeling be there, acknowledge that it exists, and allow it to move through you in its own time. This is so different from what most people do with their emotions. Most people either fight them, pushing them away, trying not to feel them, or they dive into them completely, become consumed by them, identify with them as who they are. But there's a third option. You can be with them without becoming them. You can feel them without fighting them. You can witness their presence without needing to understand or justify or fix them. Let yourself rest in that witnessing now. If there's any emotion present, even subtle, just notice it. Anxiety, peace, sadness, contentment, restlessness, calm, whatever is there. Notice it the way you might notice the sound of rain on the roof. You're not the rain. You're the one hearing it. You're not the emotion. You're the awareness in which the emotion is arising. And the awareness is vast and spacious and calm, even when what arises within it is not. You don't need to solve yourself. You don't need to figure yourself out completely. You don't need to trace every reaction back to its origin, or understand every pattern before you're allowed to let go. You can simply be here, with whatever is true, with whatever you're feeling, with whatever is arising in this moment. And you can trust that feelings like weather, like waves, like clouds, will pass. They always do. They always have. Let your body grow heavier now. Let your muscles release their holding. Let your breath slow into its own natural rhythm. You've been working so hard to understand, to analyze, to figure out why you are the way you are. And maybe someday that understanding will come. Maybe someday the patterns will become clear. But tonight, you don't need that clarity. Tonight you can simply rest in not knowing, in letting the mystery of yourself remain mysterious, in allowing your feelings to exist without needing to explain them. This is what it feels like to let go of the need to solve yourself. It feels like relief, like putting down a burden you've been carrying up a hill for miles. You can rest now. You can stop trying to figure it all out. You can simply be here, breathing, feeling whatever you feel, existing without explanation or justification or understanding. Just being, just now, just this gentle allowing of everything to be exactly as it is. And in that allowing, in that release of the need to understand and explain and fix, something softens, the resistance melts, the fighting stops. What remains is just the simple truth of your existence, complex and beautiful and mysterious, not fully understood but fully here, fully alive, fully worthy of rest. Everything you've been carrying can rest now. All the tension, all the trying, all the holding yourself together, all the effort to be better or calmer or more composed. It can all soften now, like ice melting into water, solid becoming liquid, hard becoming soft, held becoming released. You've done enough. You've thought enough. You've analysed and planned and prepared and worried and tried enough for one day, for 1 week, for one lifetime. For now, just this, just breathing, just being, just allowing yourself to exist without purpose, without productivity, without needing to become anyone other than who you already are. The night is quiet around you. Your body is heavy, sinking deeper into the surface beneath you, being held without effort. Your mind is slowing, thoughts becoming more distant, more faint, like sounds from a faraway place that don't concern you anymore. And sleep is close now, so close, waiting just on the other side of this last bit of letting go. Sleep that doesn't ask anything of you, that doesn't need you to be worthy or ready or perfect. Sleep that simply receives you exactly as you are, with all your thoughts and feelings and unfinished business and unsolved problems. Sleep that says you can rest now. You can stop now. You can let everything be exactly as it is and drift away into the soft darkness. Let yourself feel that possibility. Let yourself feel how tired you are, how much you've been holding, how much you've been carrying. And let yourself know that it's okay to put it all down. Not forever, not as a giving up, but just for now. Just for tonight. You can let it all rest while you rest. Let it all soften while you soften. Let it all dissolve into the background while you dissolve into sleep. You're safe. So deeply safe. There's nothing that needs your attention right now. Nothing that requires your energy or your thought or your effort. You can simply sink, simply soften, simply let yourself be held by this moment. By the bed beneath you, by the quiet darkness, by the gentle inevitability of sleep that's approaching like a tide, slowly covering everything, slowly taking you under into rest. Like snow settling gently on quiet ground, your thoughts are stilling, each one softer than the last, each one less urgent, less necessary, less able to hold your attention. Like waves rolling onto a peaceful shore, your breath comes and goes in its own natural rhythm, slower now, deeper, easier. Like fog lifting from a valley at dawn, your awareness is gradually dissolving, becoming less defined, becoming part of the peaceful darkness that surrounds you. You can rest completely now. You can let go fully. Everything you've been learning tonight, everything you've been understanding about calm and about yourself, it can settle into you while you sleep, finding its place in your body and your being without you needing to hold on to it consciously. The learning continues even as you let go. The integration happens even as you drift away. You don't need to remember any of this. You don't need to hold on to anything. You can simply surrender to sleep, trusting that what you need will remain, that what was important will stay, that you'll wake having absorbed what was meant for you without any effort on your part. Your breath moves like a gentle rhythm now, in and out, soft and slow. There's nothing to hold on to anymore, nothing to figure out. The questions can wait, the worries can wait, the thinking can wait. Everything can wait while you rest here, in this space where calmness isn't effort, where calmness is just the natural settling of a mind and body that have permission to let go. You're safe. You're held. You're allowed to drift now deeper and deeper into the soft darkness where sleep lives. Let yourself sink. Let yourself dissolve. Let everything fade except the quiet knowing that you are here, you are breathing, and that is enough. That has always been enough. That will always be enough. Just this breath, just this heartbeat, just this gentle descent into sleep, into peace, into the rest your body has been asking for. You can sleep now. You're ready. Everything is ready. The calm you've been seeking isn't somewhere you need to reach. It's here, holding you, receiving you, welcoming you home. Your breath moves like a gentle rhythm, in and out, soft and slow, barely there now. There's nothing to hold on to anymore, nothing to figure out, nothing to understand or solve or fix or change. The questions can wait until morning. The worries can rest. The thinking can stop. Everything can wait while you rest here, in this space where calmness isn't something you create or achieve. It's just the natural settling of a mind and body that have permission to let go, to stop trying, to simply be. You're safer, so completely safe. You're held by the surface beneath you, by gravity, by the simple physics of being a body in space. You've always been held, even when you didn't feel it, even when everything else felt uncertain. You've always been held, and you're being held right now. You can trust that. You can let yourself sink into that trust. Let yourself rest in the knowing that you don't have to hold yourself together, that you can simply be held, that this is enough. And you're allowed to drift now. You're allowed to let your awareness fade. You're allowed to stop listening, stop thinking, stop being present in this conscious way. You can drift deeper and deeper into the soft darkness where sleep lives, where thoughts don't reach, where nothing is asked of you and everything is given. You can let yourself go there now. You're ready. Your body is ready. Your mind is ready. Sleep is ready for you. Everything is softening, your body heavy and warm, your breath slow and easy, your thoughts faint and distant, and sleep so close now, just waiting for you to release that last bit of holding, that last thread of awareness, that last small effort to stay present. You can let it go. You can release it. You can drift away completely now, knowing that everything you need will be here when you wake, knowing that rest is what you need most, knowing that sleep is not just allowed, but welcomed, needed, yours, like snow settling on quiet ground, like waves on a distant shore, like fog dissolving in morning light, everything softening, everything stilling, everything fading into the gentle darkness of sleep. You're going there now. You're almost there. You're almost completely asleep, almost completely at rest, almost completely free. Your thoughts are slowing now, like a carousel winding down, like a song fading, like light dimming at day's end. Each thought comes more slowly than the last, less urgent, less insistent, less able to hold your attention. And between each thought, there's space, soft and quiet and empty, where nothing needs to happen. You can rest there, in that space, where there's no noise, no effort, no need, just stillness, just calm, just the gentle pull of sleep drawing you deeper. Your body knows how to do this. It's done this 1,000 times before, 1,000,000 times every single night of your life. You don't need to try. You don't need to make it happen. You just need to allow. And you're allowing now, so easily, so naturally, drifting further away from waking and closer to the deep rest your body has been waiting for. Closer and closer, deeper and deeper. Almost there now. Everything is soft. Your face, your shoulders, your chest, your belly, your legs, everything releasing. Everything letting go, everything sinking down into rest. There's no resistance left, no holding on, no need to stay awake or stay aware or stay anything. Just release, just letting go, just the slow, inevitable pull towards sleep that you can't resist anymore and don't want to and don't need to. Sleep is here, all around you. Inside you. You're breathing it in with every breath. You're sinking into it with every moment. You're becoming it, becoming sleep itself, becoming rest itself, becoming the quiet darkness that holds all things in its gentle embrace. And you can let yourself go completely now. You can stop holding on to consciousness. You can drift away into the place where thoughts don't reach and worries don't exist, and everything is just soft and dark and quiet and safe. Going now, drifting, fading, almost gone, almost asleep, almost free, just breathing, just resting, just this gentle dissolving into sleep, into peace, into the deep, complete rest that you deserve. That you've always deserved, that's yours now, completely yours. Sleep well, rest deeply, you are safe, you are calm, you are held, you are home. Everything is soft now, softer than soft, dissolving into something even lighter, even quieter. Your thoughts are faint, like distant sounds from another room, sounds that don't concern you, sounds that are fading even as you notice them. Your body is heavy, so heavy, sinking deeper into the bed with each breath, with each heartbeat, with each moment that passes. There's no resistance left anywhere, no holding on anywhere, no effort anywhere, just release, just letting go, just the slow, gentle pull towards sleep that you can't resist and don't need to. Sleep is everywhere now, in your breath, in your body, in the darkness behind your closed eyes. It's not coming anymore, it's here, it's arrived. You're in it already, halfway between waking and sleeping, mostly sleeping now, barely aware anymore, just drifting, just floating, just letting yourself be carried away by the tide of sleep that's pulling you under so gently, so completely. You're barely here now. Consciousness is a thin thread, loosening with each breath, fraying, almost broken. The world outside has faded completely. The thoughts have quieted into nothing. Even these words are becoming distant, like echoes in a vast, warm space. There's nothing left to hold, nothing left to think, nothing left to be except this slow, gentle rhythm of breath and this soft darkness behind your closed eyes and this complete, total rest. Sleep is here now, all around you, all through you, waiting for you to let go completely. And you are. You're letting go. You're drifting. You're almost gone, almost completely asleep, almost in that deep, dreamless place where nothing exists except rest, almost there, almost gone, almost free, just breathing now, just this, just the slow fade into nothing, into sleep, into peace. You can let go completely. You can stop holding on to anything. You can drift away into the darkness, into the silence, into the soft, warm, safe place where sleep lives. You're going there now. You're almost there. You're disappearing into sleep, dissolving into rest, becoming nothing but breath and heartbeat and the quiet darkness. Sleep now. Let yourself sleep. You're safe. You're held. You're allowed to go completely, to drift completely away, to rest completely and deeply and fully. Everything is okay. Everything can wait. Everything will be there tomorrow. But tonight, now, in this moment, there's only sleep, only rest, only this gentle, complete letting go. And now there's only this, only breath, only stillness, only the deep, complete rest your body has been asking for. You've arrived, not at understanding, not at answers, not at some achievement or destination, but at peace. The kind of peace that needs nothing from you. The kind of calm that exists without effort. The kind of rest that simply receives you exactly as you are, without asking you to be anything other than this breathing, this heartbeat, this quiet presence that's fading now into sleep. You can sleep now. You can let everything fall away. You've done all you needed to do just by being here, by listening, by allowing yourself this gentleness, this kindness, this space to simply be. And now you can rest deeply and completely. Knowing that calmness isn't something you achieve, it's something you are underneath everything else. Underneath all the noise and worry and trying, it's what remains when everything else falls away. It's what you're resting in now. It's what's holding you as you drift into sleep. Sleep well. Rest deeply. You are safe. You are calm. You are home. Everything you needed to understand, you've understood. Everything you needed to learn, you've learned. And now you can simply sleep peacefully and completely, held by the quiet knowing that you are enough. You have always been enough. And you will wake tomorrow still held by that same truth. But for now, sleep. Just sleep. Deep and soft and peaceful sleep. You've earned it. You deserve it. It's yours.